Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another enticing episode of Last Week in Nigeria. I'm Mary Alfred, and joining me is my incredible co-host in Nigeria, Emmanuel. Hi, Emmanuel. It's really good to see you today. How are you?
Thank you, Mary. It's so good to see you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So, talking about the headlines today, what was in the news last week?
Welcome to a fresh episode of the program, Last Week in Nigeria. My name is Emmanuel Oriowo. And as usual, what we do on this program is to bring you stories being reported by national dailies across the nation last week in Nigeria for Nigerians to connect the dot. You can also follow us on all our social media handles on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube. Don't forget, the handle is at Last Week in Nigeria. So let's begin this way. The Daily Sun, leadership newspaper, they have the stories. Anti-government protest shakes Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. No end in sight as protest continues. It's been reported in different cities across the nation last week in Nigeria. And the chant we heard from the protesters is simply Ebing Power, meaning we are hungry. Ebing Power, Nigerians chant in Ibadan as the protest at Mokola in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Tinubu's son, Sheyi, urges Nigerians to endure the hardship. PDP insists president lacks capacity to rule Nigeria. Hails governors, saying, we are all hungry. Like I said last week, there's hunger in the land. And we pray that we navigate this particular situation and get a better nation for all and sundry. The Matrix newspaper has this one. Anxiety as Naira free fall continues. Naira inches closer to 2,000 Naira to $1 on both official and parallel markets. Prices soar. Local currency seems to be defying various policies by CBN. Naira did crash because of bad policies. It crashed because government used borrowed $1.5 billion to defend nothing. That's a statement credited to a mockery. Tinubu's reform agenda, turning millions to beggars, is a statement credited to the Catholic bishops in Nigeria. Atiku knocks PDP governors again as bishops x-ray Tinubu's policies. Hardship, paralyzing lives nationwide, is a statement credited to the Catholic bishops and the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN. Atiku, Tinubu in verbal war. Over what? Over Forex crisis and the Naira fall. That was reported by the Daily Sun newspaper. The Nation Star has this one. Shrinkflation. Have you heard that before? Shrinkflation. Manufacturers lower products quality, quantity, hike prices across the country. Price hike hinged on high cost of doing business as protest rocks Oyo State capital. The New Telegraph has this one. 42,000 metric tons of grains in FG strategic reserves and their silos is a statement credited to Bugaje. Says government rented out all its silos and cannot control prices of produce it doesn't have. Could that be a lamentation from the part of the government? Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and keep watching. The Daily Times has this one. APC knocks PDP governors over call for Tinubu's resignation. The Guardian newspaper, we have this one. FG grants 4 trillion Naira tax credit in 5 years as inflation threatens scheme. This Day newspaper has this one as reported last week in Nigeria. Red Cross declares Nigeria's hunger crisis alarming. Demands immediate attention, says time to act is now. PDP, Tinubu is overwhelmed, lacked capacity to lead Nigeria. That's a statement credited to the People's Democratic Party, PDP, last week in Nigeria.
Yes, Emmanuel. Yes, I totally agree. I totally agree with Red Cross's call for action on Nigerians' hunger crisis. And regarding Tinubu's leadership capacity, I think many share the same perspective as PDP. Or what do you guys think? Emmanuel, what else do we have?
The Business Day has this one. It talks about the petroleum subsidy. Petroleum subsidy nears 1 trillion naira monthly, surpasses pre-Tinubu's administration. In other words, the subsidy on petrol nears 1 trillion naira, and it's been reported by the Business Day that this surpasses pre-Tinubu's administration. The Daily Independent, Daily Trusts have this particular one. Forex crisis shrinks Nigeria Airlines aircrafts to 44 from 107. Forex scarcity shrinks domestic airline fleets by over 50% to 63. As we have it that commercial airplanes are grounded in Nigeria due to the inflation. Industries are bleeding is a statement credited to stakeholders as they say that the federal government appears to be helpless. That was reported by the Daily Trust newspaper and the Daily Independent newspaper.
Wow, Emmanuel. The forex crisis severely impacting Nigerians' airline with over 50% domestic airlines grounded. That is really concerning. What else is going on in that country?
Still last week in Nigeria, the Daily Times has this one. FG not sure of the crime to charge Emefiele with. We're speaking here. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, is speaking here, saying that the current economic mess was created by Emefiele. We're speaking Akpabio. You recall that Emefiele is a former central bank governor of Nigeria, who is in the eyes of the storm as we speak right now, because even the Senate President is pointing the accusing fingers to Emefiele. Daily Trust newspaper has this one. Food prices drop in Kano, Taraba, Kwara, and Niger states as government goes after hoarders. You recall that a video was trending last week showing how foods were stockpiled in different warehouses in the north. Feed suspense mop up. Hunger protest spread to Ibadan. The New Telegraph and the Daily Sun newspaper, they have this particular one. Senate to probe Buhari, others over 30 trillion naira. Ways and Means loans. FG, Senate probe Buhari claimed reckless spending causes nation's current woes. As commotion characterized the debate, Edu says investigation will determine whether or not to repay loans that Nigeria is owing.
Ah, wow. It looks like the Senates are going on a detective run to uncover the Ways and Means loan. Wow. Who needs Sherlock Holmes when you have Nigerian politics? Am I right?
Daily Trust newspaper, we have this one. Dollar hits 1,900 naira as pound sterling goes for 2,250 naira. That was reported by the national dailies last week in Nigeria. And we have this one. BDCs raided, operator arrested, trial and error. It's not the solution in sight.
Wow, Emmanuel. This is bad. You know, it feels like Naira is auditioning for a role in a high-stake action movie with all this free falls. When will this end?
The Daily Trust newspaper also has this one. Rising cooking gas price. Nigerians resort to charcoal and firewood. 12.5 kg gas cylinder now goes for close to 18,000 naira. You can imagine how will people cope with this kind of situation. Experts, FG, keep mum on failed promise to crash prices of products. UK, Nigerian parent battle to pay school fees as exchange rate hits 2,052 naira to a pound. Diversion of 10 billion naira. EFCC detains ex-Kwara governor Ahmed. Trial slated for Ilorin. He's ready to take questions on his stewardship. That's the way the Nation newspaper puts it. The Guardian newspaper, we have this one. Tales of woe for survivors, joy for repentant terrorists. That was reported by the Guardian newspaper. Daily Sun newspaper has this one. Food crisis, 30 billion naira to governors. You lied, Makinde tells Akpabio. That's what's reported by the Daily Sun newspaper last week in Nigeria. We also have this one. It says, governors tackle Akpabio, deny receiving federal government 1 trillion naira lifeline on palliative palaver. That's the way the Punch newspaper captioned it on the front page. The Daily Times, we have this one. Hardship. Makinde tackles Akpabio over FG's 30 billion naira gift to states. The Matrix newspaper, we have this one. No going back on my administration's reform. We're speaking here. Tinubu declares. The Daily Independent, we have this one on the front page, and it says, those calling for coup d'etat in Nigeria are Nigeria's enemy. That's credited to the CDS. That's about the size of the program for this week. Do join us again next week. On behalf of the entire production team from here, over to you, Mara, and do have a productive week. Thanks for being there. Don't forget, you can reach us on all our social media handles at Last Week in Nigeria on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course we have a WhatsApp channel. Not forgetting YouTube, where you get to subscribe, share, like, and comment. And by God's grace, when it comes to the last week of the first quarter, we'll be having a live session where we get to review all the stories in the first quarter with an analyst in the studios here with us live. And of course, that will be happening also in the US with Mera and CC, alongside all the crew members that will be working on that from the United States of America. We appreciate you for being there. My name is Emmanuel Oriowo. Let's do this again next week. Kindly join me, and don't forget to follow us on all our socials and log on to our website, www.lastweekinnigeria.com. Until then, bye for now.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for today's headlines. Stay safe out there.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
As we conclude today's episode of Last Week in Nigeria, I'm here to remind you all that we'll be broadcasting live on all channels soon. So if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have news to share, you can always reach out to us on our social platforms at Last Week in Nigeria, and also visit us on our website at www.lastweekinnigeria.com to submit your questions, comments, and news, and to also see the dates and times that would be going live. I'm still your host, Mara Alfred. Until next week, stay blessed and stay safe.